Welcome back, troops. Let's tab 59. So, theft in the army. Talk a little bit about it, because theft in the army, especially theft off of another soldier, stealing another soldier's belongings, whether that's cash or whatever, is an absolute cardinal sin in the British Army. It certainly was when I was in the army. If you were to get caught stealing off of another soldier in your barrack block, that was probably the lowest of the low. Because obviously in the army, you've got to have absolute trust in each other. You're working as a team. So to have somebody in your block, in your barrack block, that was a thief was a massive no-no. Now, back in my day, all right, I keep saying back in my day, I left the army in 2015, but my service went right back to the mid-70s, well, 76 onwards. Certainly back then, and in basic training especially, I saw it was actively encouraged or mentioned by the senior NCOs and the junior NCOs that were our instructors, or drill pigs, whatever you want to call them, or recruit instructors. It was actively encouraged. If someone was caught thieving, it wasn't reported up the chain of command. It was dealt with in-house, and it was encouraged by those senior NCOs and NCOs to deal with it yourselves, lads. I can remember an incident, something stupid. Somebody stole something out of someone else's locker display. I think we'd had a locker layout, and we didn't even have shower gel back then, right? You used to have your little locker layout, and on one of your shelves would be all your washing shaving kit. So it'd all be laid out on a folded up yellow duster on the shelf. There would be a razor laid out, your shaving brush, and we had soap. We had soap, bars of soap. We didn't have shower gel then. So you'd have a special one for your locker layout. You'd have the one that you used. So you'd have a little plastic soap dish with a bar of soap in it that you used every day to bath, shower, wash your face with, etc. But you'd have a brand new one that was absolutely pristine and clean, with a brand new bar of soap set in it, just for the locker layout. And somebody, with lockers are all open, getting ready for the inspection in the morning, somebody stole someone else's soap dish and soap. Now that's peanuts, isn't it? But it's not the fact that it was just a bar of soap that was worth a few pence back in those days. It was the fact that it's stolen off of another soldier. And that was reported to the senior NCOs by the guy that had lost a bit of kit, the soap dish with the soap in it. And he was encouraged to find out, investigate, right, you lads, someone in here is a thief. You've got a thief amongst you. Find out it is and sort it out. And that's exactly what happened. And when we found the person, it came to light who it was. I can't remember now. It's 40 odd years ago how we discovered who it was, but we discovered who'd taken the soap from the soap dish, or the soap dish, etc., from the locker. And we had a kangaroo court. Now, once, like I say, found who it was, we all lined up in the barrack block at the end of our beds with our towels, green army towel, they're not tied in the end, and it was soaked in water. And as this guy had to walk up, he was made to just walk slowly up between it, and everyone whipped him with a towel, hit him with the knot end of the towel. It wasn't that bad, to be honest, but the humiliation was probably the worst punishment, rather than the physical impact of getting hit with a wet knotted towel. But that's just an example of how it was really, really frowned upon. And that's sort of installed in all of us in basic training, that you don't nick. I can remember being out in Germany at my unit, and on my bed space, we were in 8-man rooms. Rooms were unlocked. Lockers were very, very rarely locked unless you were going out somewhere. But I can remember leaving on my little bedside locker. You had this little wooden bedside locker next to your bed, right, with an ashtray on it and bits and pieces. I can remember leaving my wallet there with money, cash, paper money in the wallet, and coins laying there, and a packet of fags and a lighter or whatever, just a watch laid there. And I could go off and have a shower, or I could nip out and do something, knowing that when I come back, that wouldn't have been touched. that money would still be there. Everything would, someone might nick a fag off you, right? Your mate might come in your room and see your fags laying there and just pinch a fag out of your packet or something. He'd probably tell you, oh, while he was out, I nicked one of your fags. That was sort of acceptable, but no one would touch your money. So that was a big sin. However, there were other times that theft happened and it wasn't sort of acceptable. It was still wrong, but it happened and it wasn't so serious. Now, again, back in the olden days, it sounds terrible, doesn't it? Back in the day, we, in our barrack blocks, used to have a drying room. Certainly in basic training we had one. And in fact, we had one at my unit, was that in Germany. They might even still be in some of the old transit camps today, where you're in the camp, and of course we didn't have tumble dryers to dry our clothes. We didn't even have washing machines in basic training. You went into like a room they used to call the Blanco room, and you'd go in those like big old Belfast sinks and you'd hand wash your uniforms, your clothes, whatever, unless you could get downtown to a service wash. But if not, you had to wash it in the block. And then once you'd wrung it out best you could, you'd go take those bits of kit, those clothing items, to the drying room, which is basically quite a good sized room, very well heated, and there was poles in there or washing lines in there where you could hang up your kit to dry it out. Because obviously you couldn't hang your wet washing out your windows or put a washing line up outside your barrack block. That would have been a no-no. So it was dried in the drying room. Now, of course, this is where, even if you put your name, rank and number, which you had to do in all your clothing items, stuff would go missing from the drying room. You go in there and where's my lightweights gone? Now either they've picked them up by mistake or they've just wanted an extra pair of lightweights. That could be really annoying. And you'd come back and ask people, and sometimes, oh yeah, I've picked them up by mistake or whatever. So the drying room was a place you had to keep an eye on because you could really lose bits of kit there. So a bit of theft, it may be accidental, I don't know. Of course, other types of theft, I mean downtown, in Germany, I can remember blokes coming back on a Saturday night or Friday night, back from downtown, bit of a walk, run out of money, can't get a cab, and so they've nicked a local's push bike. I can remember seeing just up near the guard room, just on the perimeter. So what they've done, they've gone downtown, they've nicked someone's push bike, some poor German bloke's push bike, rode it back to camp somehow, pissed, and then before they got to the guard room, they've dumped it. And of course, I suppose they got collected the next day by somebody, I don't know. Maybe locals used to know where the bikes would end up. So a bit of theft going on there. Of course, theft off the army was not so frowned on. So if you managed to acquire something, a buckshy item, that's what we called it. If you had something, it was buckshy. That means it was like surplus. It's not, you've nicked it off them somehow. Maybe you had some extra items of webbing that you've managed to get your hands on. And you've got some buckshy webbing. That used to happen. So, and people used to say, if you nicked off the army, oh, it's a big company. It's all right, it's a big company, it's a big firm. So having stuff away, people nicking rolls of black nasty tape out from the stores and taking it home or keeping it in the I don't know. But nicking off the army didn't seem to be small items, consumable items, like I say, black tape or toilet roll or black bin liners. People would have that sort of stuff away if they could. But not starred items, not big items, obviously you couldn't nick them. Although it did happen, I'm sure. But that was less frowned upon by the lads. Obviously it's still theft. And if you got caught, technically, you know, the army could charge you with it. But it wasn't such a cardinal sin. That's what I was driving at. If you had something away off the army, something small, got the odd ammo pouch or, I don't know, pair of boots or something, you managed to acquire that off the army somehow, that wasn't frowned on as bad as if you stole off one of your mates. Because that's what it was all about, trust in your comrades. And like I say, if you had a thief in your room or in your block, massive no-no. His or her, well, I suppose his life would be made hell. So theft, the big no-no. Anyway, there's a little chat about thieving just come into my head when I was walking around. Don't know how. Things just pop in my nut. Don't know how that happens. So I'd like to hear any anecdotes you've got about theft in the army. Did you have something stolen off you? Did you acquire stuff on the QT? No names, no pack drills. But yeah, certainly I managed to pick up a few bucksy items in my time. But one thing I never done was I never ever stole off of a mate. Personal items. Didn't do it. Somebody nicked my watch. I had a digital watch. So this must have been late 70s, early 80s when little digital watches first came out. And that was quite a big thing back then. I had a little one, it had like a red display on it. It glowed red at the time. Little cheap plastic thing. But that got stolen off me in the washrooms. I went in the washrooms and had a shave. Big long row of sinks. There was a little shelf with the mirrors above it. And I put my wash kit up there, took my watch off, laid it on there, went for a crap or I can't remember what I'd done. I went off to get something, come back and noticed my watch had gone. And it happened in the evening. So somebody had a watch away. but I could never find out who it was. Somebody had it away, never knew. But it was a cardinal sin. I'm sure many veterans on here watching this, you'll remember that. You just never stole off your mates. Yes, you'd nick a fag out of his packet, something like that, but you certainly wouldn't steal cash or any valuable items off of one of the lads in your barrack block, even if he wasn't a close mate. It's one of those things that wasn't done. It was just too bad to have that reputation of being a theft in the army. Anyway, hope you're all safe and well, happy. It's a beautiful day, still out tabbing. We're into autumn now, we're in September, so it's technically autumn, isn't it? But it's still t-shirt weather, look at that. If you're new to my channel, you haven't subscribed, please consider it. I'm not saying do it, I'm asking you to consider it because it will help my little channel grow. Doing pretty good at the moment, you're pushing me well. So troops, farmer. Well troops, stay safe. Till next time, it won't be long, remember, let's tab.